Gary here, founder of Every Black Life Matters, and with another episode of Letting the Cat Out of the Bag. Again, cat out of the bag is a idiom or allegory, if you will, for exposing some secrets or providing some additional content or information that is not otherwise normally perceived. And so, this segment of letting the cat out of the bag, we're going to deal with equity. What does that mean? A lot of people are saying it. A lot of people have created their entire, existence as consultants, as equity consultants. And so we're going to, take a deeper look at what equity means and how does it make sense for us. So CAT, as you know, is critical analytical thinking or critical analysis thinking. And so we want to look at this concept of equity from a critical standpoint. We want to be able to sort of really discern the intentions of those who are espousing to want equity. Here's the thing. Equity is actually defined a quality or a form of being fair and impartial. And if that's the definition of equity, being fair and impartial, let's take a look at that. If we had an instance where I felt that I was superior to other people and felt like in a certain respect that I could take someone else's life because I'm better than them, that's clearly unequitable. When we had slavery in the 1800s, and people felt that Blacks were less than human and precipitated slavery and elongated slavery and all that, that's certainly another good example of inequitable circumstance. So inequities do happen. And I wanted to have a conversation about, before we jump on the bandwagon of the current sort of slate of people and consulting organizations that are espousing equity, let's think critically about what they're saying. Basically, today's, most of the people that are talking about equity today are basically saying that we need to have the same outcomes. Now, this doesn't take into consideration the amount of somebody's effort to have perhaps have gotten a higher level of education, higher level of skill set, and all of that. They're saying that notwithstanding, we still need to have an equal outcome. How does that work? How are we going to have an equal outcome when we have different skill sets, different ways that we've positioned ourselves within the marketplace or within our academic institutions, the ways at which we've forced ourselves to go through extreme training and academic pursuits in order to achieve a certain level of understanding, and yet we should all have equal outcomes. So a janitor should have an equal outcome with a doctor? I don't think so. Should an NBA star, somebody who has pushed their body through intense athletic training for decades, should they have the same outcome as a teacher? This is a preposterous notion on its face, but we do have people that are earnestly saying, look, equity means we have equal outcomes. Here's what I would like to challenge all of those about the equity conversation with. Again, equity means that if we are being partial and if we are being unfair. So if I am unfair and I'm partial, that's a clear evidence of an equity differential. So what about the person that's not even allowed to live? Let's say I had the power of life and death, and I say, well, based on these people, I don't want them to even live. Let's go ahead and kill them. Is that being fair and impartial? No, it's not. Let's take that down another level. There are people today that are trying to be born, trying to just live. And if you think about it, is it then inequitable for those of us who are already living to say we should reject their right to live? How does this change your stance on abortion? Being fair and impartial, there's a life that just wants to live. Who are we then to say that we have the authority to not allow that baby to be born. Another way, think about this. All of your equity champions, all of them that I'm ever aware of, are manifestly pro-abortion. How does that work? Should we not push back on the equity champions and say, look, when you acknowledge that we're being partial and unjust and unfair by allowing certain people to live and certain people not, or better yet, by allowing Planned Parenthood to specifically target certain communities for their obituaries and certain communities not, isn't that being unfair and partial and unjust? When we get you equity person, to acknowledge that unfairness and injustice, then, and that's through public renouncement and denouncement of targeting specific communities, especially the Black community, for extermination, and not allowing those black lives to even exist so we can even have a more equitable environment. When you acknowledge that, then we may listen to you as it relates to equity. I hope this is helpful. Equity always begins at the beginning of life. If we allow any inequity at the beginning of life, then we're going to allow inequities to occur all around us. Fundamentally, we need to be consistent with all of our conversations. And consistencies, and as it relates to equity, means that we need to stand for equity sincerely. This foolishness about everybody having the same outcome, even though we have different skill sets, abilities, talents, we have different ways that we've studied and have been educated, but yet everybody should have the exact same outcome, is preposterous. So let's stand against that preposterous notion, but let's force the equity proponents to acknowledge that there are sincere inequities, and that begins in the womb. And when you stand with us for that, then we may listen to you with the other. How's that? All right. Let the cat out of the bag. God bless you. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time. Take care.